It was very important that all of the costumes really looked authentic and that they looked lived in, that, May's person picked it up off the floor and, smelled it on and was like, oh, it's fine today. I can wear it one more time. This specific show was really meant to be, who are these characters? What happens in a day to these people? And they don't change their clothes. It was really about how lived in can we make the characters.
Hello and welcome to the Art of Costume Blogcast. My name is Spencer Williams, and thank you so much for joining us for yet another bonus episode. I am so excited today to talk about one of my new favorite shows, Mare of Easttown. I just finished binging the show this week, and I am dizzy from how much I love it. I feel like I need to talk to someone about it. Luckily for me, today I am honored to be joined by a Emmy nominee, costume designer of Mare of Easttown, Meghan Kasperlik. Meghan, welcome to the Blogcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
Meghan, I'm so excited to talk to you. I've been looking forward to this all week. I binged the show so quickly, and the whole time I was just like, oh, I need to ask her about this. I need to talk to her about this. When is this interview happening? So I'm so happy it's finally here.
Well, thank you so much. I'm very, very excited to talk to you and talk about Mare and how much everyone loves it. I'm just so pleased that everyone really is like grasping the authenticity of the characters.
It's so crazy. I can't wait to talk to you about it. But first, Emmy nominee, we have to talk about that. How does it feel to be nominated?
It's great. I was actually nominated for Fahrenheit 451 a few years ago in the sci-fi category. But this one is extra special to me because I am really excited that people are seeing the storytelling of costume. And it's not just about having a fashion moment in a contemporary costume, that it's actually the authenticity of the characters of the costume, like really elevated the storytelling. So that's really exciting that people are recognizing that.
Totally. I mean, it just feels so real, so authentic, and I just loved every second of it. It just really transported you to this world, which when you're thinking of contemporary costumes, sometimes they're not always thinking about, oh, we're transporting yourselves to this whole different world. It's just in Pennsylvania, but you really achieved that feat. It's so awesome.
Thank you.
So let's get into it. There's a quote that I love by the costume designer of Hamilton, Paul Tazwell. And he says, if a costume is right, then it should get out of the way. It shouldn't go away, but it should get out of the way so you can be in the moment and experience this world. I love that quote, and I think your work on Mayor of Easttown really just takes that quote and runs all the way home with it, because the costume design for Mayor of Easttown is brilliant. And it's brilliant because it makes you feel like you're in this world, like we were talking about. It's so incredibly authentic. It really captures the small town Pennsylvania feel. Can you first start by speaking to your approach in costuming this authentic world, but still holding to your creative touch?
Sure. It was very important that all of the costumes really looked authentic and that they looked lived in, that, May's person picked it up off the floor and, smelled it on and was like, oh, it's fine today. I can wear it one more time. It's the opposite of how those fashion moments. Like, I started my career working with Patricia Field, and it's like almost the opposite of the way it's presented.
Yeah. That's like night and day.
Yeah. That's an amazing business person. And she's really an amazing costume designer because she does think about the characters. This specific show was really meant to be, okay, who are these characters? What are their jobs? What are their professions? What are they doing? Are they going from work to their kids' soccer game, to cooking dinner at home, to doing the homework with the kids, to paying the bills at night? It was really like overall, what happens in a day to these people? And they don't change their clothes. There's no like Refinery 29 day to night moment, taking our business, what am I looking like when I take this top off and change something? It was really about how lived in can we make the characters.
Totally.
Also, I live in New York, and coming from that area, I was like, nothing needs to look cool. Like, no one's getting dressed except maybe the teenagers to be a little bit cool. It's more about functionality. And I wanted to make sure that I was really making these characters look exactly like the community. I grew up in Michigan, in a suburb of Grand Rapids, and some of my aunts and uncles live on the west side of Grand Rapids, which is more of like a little bit more blue collar.
Yeah.
When I interviewed with Brad Inglesby, the writer, I used a number of my aunts and uncles' photos that live in that area to kind of show like, the kind of blue collar aspect. But then when I got to Pennsylvania and I asked him, if there's all these suburbs in Pennsylvania, like where is this family living? Because it was considered like a fictitious town. Where are they living? Like what city, what like little suburb should I go to? And he said Coatesville and Aston. So which is now very famously known, I went to a Wawa, multiple Wawas, and I sat in the parking lot for like a couple of hours. And then I went into the Wawa and I just like observed people and like what they were wearing. And, they would come in and number of people, they don't have handbags. They're just grabbing in their pocket and like paying in there. And you're ordering your sandwich from the hoagie counter. And how are they buying like sodas out of the refrigerator? Are they getting a fountain soda? Like I just really observed as much of that as possible. And then I went to like local restaurants and I went to like the local hardware store just to kind of see what people are wearing. So it really got a feel for the area.
So our co-host on the Blogcast is actually from Pennsylvania. And when I was researching for this interview, I called her and I said, what in the hell is a Wawa? And why is a costume designer doing research there? And she freaked out. She was like, she was at a where? I think this is such a fun story.
It's kind of like a 7-Eleven. It's like but it's amazing because you can get like a hoagie, a sandwich, a salad, and they like make it right there in front of you, almost like a Subway in a way. And then it has a gas station, but like I spoke to someone yesterday and they're like, my brother-in-law lives in Philadelphia and he goes to Wawa every morning to get his coffee. So it's kind of like a Starbucks, a sandwich shop, and gas all in one. And it's really like a cultural phenomena of Philadelphia.
I love that. It's like a 7-Eleven. So when you were there, were you taking like mental photos of people just so you could present all this at some point, building like a database of people?
Yes, it was mostly like ingrained in my mind. I didn't take a lot of photographs because I was like, I don't really want to like,
yeah.
I was in my car a little bit and then I went inside. But yeah, I was taking like a mental note of everything that was happening and the whole like I was there in the August is when I started. We filmed like pre-COVID and then post going back to work during COVID. So it was just like very, now I like don't even remember I think I started in August, but yeah, everybody was in sweatpants. Like everyone was in sweatpants and then like shower slides, like Adidas shower slides.
These are my people. I need to move here.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, like I really enjoyed Philadelphia. I had a great time there.
Amazing. So we have to talk about costuming Kate Winslet. When I was first thinking about this, what a challenge it'd be to transform Kate Winslet into Mare, because Kate Winslet is so already recognizable. And you had to make her almost come off as a whole different person in a way. Can you just kind of talk about the task of costuming Mare?
Yeah, I had spoken with Kate prior to her coming and I sent her some like mood boards and whatnot. And my first real question to her was like, how far are you willing to go like with this character? Because Kate Winslet is absolutely stunning, has the most like luminous skin. And I was like, oh my gosh, how do we make her look a little bit more like lived in a way? So Kate was great. She's like, oh, I am all in. The wig is going to have like 2-inch roots and her hair and makeup person, Ivana, is like genius. And Kate has a very distinct eyebrow and they laid in additional little teeny hairs. So it looked like she didn't have that as high of a arch as she does, because her eyebrow is so dominant, but like when she didn't have them in, you could tell. But yeah, she was like totally all in and it was amazing. So we did 2 big fittings when she first got to Pennsylvania. And pretty much after that second fitting, we're like, oh, we're moving in the right direction. And after like I would say after the camera test in the first week of filming, it was like, oh, I totally have it. Like we know where we're going through the whole series. And one thing that was very important to me is that to make sure that just like most people, you wear the same few pairs of jeans, you wear the same coat, you wear the same handful of shoes. It was very important to me that this is a woman who would maybe buy new clothes when she like felt it was necessary, but it's going to be like a jeans and a t-shirt situation. She's had the same jacket for a long time. She wears a Filson jacket for the first 4 or 5 episodes. And so it was important that that was like her detective jacket, that was like almost like her suit of armor. But the details of like, I very adamantly did not want her to have a purse or a handbag. I didn't want her to carry a lot of stuff. Her car was kind of like her purse in a way. Her car and like the coat had pockets, because it's like she was in and out of places so much. And being a New Yorker, that you're on the subway, you go into a store, you go into your house, you're like constantly hot, cold, hot, cold. I wanted her to be able to take layers on and off easily. So that's why the Filson jacket isn't super, we filmed in the winter, so it wasn't like super really, really warm, but she wears another like fleece underneath it. And then it's just about like layering. So that was ideal and like key to like developing this character. And that everything, the entire color palette, was like, oh my gosh, everyone is so drab, like is so drab.
I know.
In reality, these are the colors that you're seeing, unless it's like a teenager or a child, and then there's pops of color, except for like the sports paraphernalia that you'll see. So it's very important to kind of keep that like a muted tone.
I am obsessed with this. You've worked on multiple films that have real superhero energy, like Watchmen, The Dark Knight Rises, Amazing Spider-Man 2. So it's so funny when we're looking at Mare of Easttown, it's almost like you created Mare almost in her own kind of superhero outfit, which is like this jacket and the layering and the fleece. It's like her own kind of like superhero uniform in a very contemporary way.
Yeah, it was meant to be like kind of her protective layer. And she always kind of had it with her. And at one point, Kate was like, should we change the jacket? And I was like, please no. Like there's a whole point to her wearing this until she's shot. And then we can change the jacket, because now that Filson jacket's gone. So it was very intentional. Also, there's a little bit more life in the blue jacket that's on the bottom left. You can't tell it's blue because it's soaking wet, but it's kind of a periwinkle cornflower blue color. But all the clothes had some aging done to it, or like a really washed in look. So nothing looked like fresh out of the package.
Right. Was there a lot of aging and dyeing that went into this project?
Yes, I had a full-time ager and dyer that he was just constantly like over dyeing and putting like low lights. And for example, it's hard to see, but on her Filson jacket that's in the top right corner, there's like a leather patch right here on the shoulders. And all in that shoulder, that's like all aged, because it was actually a much brighter color when we first got the jacket. Because we needed so many of them, that was aged a lot. And a lot of her stuff was new and then aged. She did have some thrifted stuff, but predominantly it was like newer, because we needed to have like stunts and stuff like that. So for a few things, but I mean, Kate's so game, she can pretty much do anything. And she was like running around and chasing everyone, doing the change.
Yeah.
She's amazing.
It was so amazing. So you talked about it a little bit. How collaborative were you with the actors, or shall I say, how collaborative were the actors with you when it came to costuming Mare of Easttown?
Kate is super collaborative. I mean, really all the actors were very collaborative in the sense of working with me to kind of get there. Kate's amazing, and it was like a discussion all the time, and we were constantly, once we got it, if we needed a new, like they added a new script day, or like, she had like, I think it was like 47 to 52. I can't remember how many changes, but she had like so many changes, Kate.
Wow.
Once we got really the base, it was just like on the day, like, hey, we have this, here's our layers that we always wear. Do we want to change up a t-shirt, a sweatshirt, a whatnot? Because we had kind of a closet. For Julianne Nicholson, she's also so amazing. Like she was super collaborative, and I had the first fitting, and it is always a challenge to know how far some of the actors will go as far as like making them not shine their best look, their best hair, their best skin, and really, transform, because this whole thing was storytelling and telling the story of these characters in this specific area. Everyone was really great about like going for it. And so Julianne was amazing. And I had most of her clothes were thrifted, like a number of them. The Dave Matthews t-shirt was scripted. And so I just basically was like, okay, when would this t-shirt be from? How old would she have been when she saw this concert? And I went back to those years to get the shirt. But she was just like a lot of the sweaters and stuff. And she's like, oh, this is great. Like, it's really drab. I'd love more of this type of sweater. I had a few new things in there for her, and she was like, I love how this sweater goes over my hand. It's really been stretched out. And so all of those details, a stretched out sweater, a stain on the sweatshirt, maybe like a burn in like Dylan's jacket, like all of those little things were put into it.
Well, I love that. It is totally like the little details that really made the show come to life. Like you said, like even like a stretched out sweater makes all the difference on some of these characters. And I just wanted to ask you too, I was obsessed with all like the band t-shirts, the concert t-shirts, all the graphic tees. I need the Spyro t-shirt that they're wearing in the top right. I thought that was so cool. Can you just talk about the graphic tees?
Everyone loves the shirt.
I need that shirt. It's so good.
I can't remember, got it from like Hot Topic or something like that. Like
probably.
I mean, in Philadelphia, there's a lot of malls.
Yeah.
And so for the teenagers, I did a mix of like thrifting and then mall buys. But for the teenagers that have all like the band and stuff that have all the logos, so it was very important to me that we show as much like local, like talent, local coffee shop, fire station, like anything local. It was really important to me because as I was like going around, everybody had on like a logo shirt, a logo sports team, like it was everywhere. So I had a local shopper, and what I've said to her, like her first week, I was like, okay, here's what the story is. Here's all of like the mood boards, here's, like the inspiration. I need you to go to every local place that you can think of. And I want local bands, local record store, local coffee shop, fire station, like anything local, please get and have them sign a release and we'll put it in the show. And I think we have like 20 to 25 different local places. And then on top of the Philly Flyers and Gritty and like the Eagles and stuff and all the sports teams. So that was like one thing I really wanted to have. And she did an amazing job. And so we got to pepper that all in. That's
wonderful. I love that happened. So let's get into some specific characters. First, I want to talk about Siobhan. I loved her costumes because she kind of felt like the fashionable one in the show. I loved all of her costumes, all her outfits, felt very put together, and it felt like they represented contemporary trends in a way, translated into this Easttown environment. So what was your idea behind Siobhan's looks?
I wanted her to be almost like she's advancing from the family. Like she didn't want to be like, I don't want to say like stuck with her family, but she like, as a teenager, you a lot of times follow trends or you follow the crowd. And I wanted her to be slightly different, but also someone who's like a little bit more, thinking a little bit big city or otherworldly or like not just small town. So I had the idea of just like layering her up and just mixing prints and patterns and textures. I love texture. So it's a matter of like layering that. And first few looks, we started doing like a turtleneck with like layers and it just kind of worked. So that's where it formed. And then one of my costumers that took care of the actors on set, she wears a ton of jewelry and always layers like necklaces and rings and everything. And I thought, oh, that could be like really great for Siobhan, just to show her personality, who she is. So I took that and added that's how I added a lot of layers. But when Angari, who plays Siobhan, came in, she had hair like a little bit longer than mine. And Shanika, who's the lead hair, she was like, oh, I'm going to give her this haircut. And I'm like, if you can get an actress to shave the side of her head and do that haircut, I'm all about it. So we fit Angari in the costumes for her first fitting. And I was like, I mean, we need a haircut because Angari is like so sweet and so lovely, but she's like a girly girl. And I was like, Siobhan's not a girly girl. You're going to have to get over that. And she's like, oh, well, I could be pretty. And I was like, Siobhan's not pretty. She's going places and she's not thinking about pretty. She's like going into it with a different attitude. As soon as Shanika cut her hair, she transformed into this character. It was phenomenal. Everything that we put on her, we put back on her, and instantly like all the costumes were approved because the hair really transformed the look. So Shanika and I worked really closely together on that and also some of the other characters. So it was fantastic.
Oh my gosh, I love that so much. And yeah, I'm so glad you mentioned a jewelry because every single time I was like, oh my gosh, I love that necklace or I love the earring she's wearing. It all came together so beautifully. And the haircut, I'm so glad that happened. I cannot imagine like the long hair Siobhan in a rock band. I love that story. So then the next character I need to talk about is Detective Zabal. He's a county detective known for recently solving a nearby cold case, and he's kind of brought in from the outside to help Mare. I feel like because he's brought in from the outside, he's a little bit different from everyone else who's in the area. Can we maybe talk to Zabal's outfits?
Yeah, so Evan and I had kind of a different thought of the look when he first came to Pennsylvania. And we tried it on him, and like Evan and I really kind of liked it. But showed it to Brad. He thought, oh, that's like cool. Brad's like the writer is like the sweetest guy you'll ever meet. Like how he wrote that, I have no idea. He's so sweet. And he's like, oh, that's like nice. But like, I don't know if it really looks like the guys from here. And I thought, that's a really good point. Maybe we're making Evan too much of a character instead of telling who this guy is. So we went back and I like looked at a number of people and I thought, you know what? He just needs to be in a very simple suit that's just one step above what the other detectives, other men would wear. Not too fancy, but still kind of looking good. So people are kind of like recognizing him as kind of like this hotshot detective. When in actuality, he had his own secret of hiding that he like didn't really solve the previous case. So he was actually playing into the role that he was trying to perceive or put out there.
Oh, I love that. I didn't even think about that until you said that just now. And I love the blue color palette you developed for him also. I've noticed a lot of blues, a lot of grays.
It's trying to keep it that it looks nice and flattering, but I feel like that standard detective, like in a small town, is like a bad sports jacket and a white shirt and a bad tie. And it's like, well, he can still kind of try to look a little bit nicer. So it just kept it really, really simple. And it just kind of worked for him.
I love it. So now, finally, we have to talk about one of my favorite characters, played by Jean Smart, Helen. Such a fun, hilarious character. What I noticed about her, which I thought was so interesting, I want to talk to you about it, was she's like one of the characters who really wears a lot of color and a lot of prints compared to everyone else. I mean, it's not like she's wearing neon pink, but she's actually wearing some red and oranges and yellows. Even her drinks were colorful, which I thought was fun. So can we just go into Helen's looks, but also the color palettes you used?
Yeah, so I worked with Jean on Watchmen, and so she had a much more serious look. So when I did Watchmen right before doing Mare, so when we went to Mare, I thought, okay, how am I going to transform Jean and make her look different? And I kind of thought to those my grandmother, and my grandmother has looked probably the same for the past 30 years. Like she's had the same hairstyle, not the same clothes for 30 years, but I always perceived her growing up as always being in kind of the same thing. But with Jean, she's like, I think she would always have the same hairstyle, but let's bring in, she still has hope for the family. She's given up on the family. Mare's kind of given up a little bit. And Siobhan is just thinking of kind of still paying homage to her family and being there for her family, but what's next in her life. So Helen is going to be the constant there, always there to help. But I also I went to TJ Maxx, and I was like, she shops at TJ Maxx, or she shops that type of place where she's getting what she finds is the nice shirt. A lot of those shirts are either gray, blue, or black, or they're prints. So I was like, oh, she's definitely wearing a print. She wears pretty much exclusively wears a nice sweatpant. And she wears Skechers. Her indoor shoes are Skechers, her outdoor shoes are Skechers. So when Jean came in and we did the fitting, we were like, oh, there's some good things here. This is kind of working for the initial fitting. And she was like, it's just missing something. And I was like, I totally agree with you. I just can't put my finger on what it is at the moment. And she said, what if she has a butt? Because Jean is a very slim, glamazon. She's a very slim figured, beautiful woman. And I thought, oh, we could make her pear-shaped. We could make Helen pear-shaped. And it just, that little fill out in those sweatpants really made her, and then the hair made her a different character and into the character of Helen. So it was really great.
I just remembered you did an interview recently and you talked about creating hip pads for Helen.
Yeah. So I gave her a little fake butt and then put hips on the side, so she became pear-shaped.
That's brilliant. I love this.
Jean has like the longest Amazon legs. She's like very slim. Like you see her in Hacks. It's like a completely different character that Ellen is. So
right.
So I gave her a butt.
I love that so much. That's so funny. Well, that is it for us. I love talking with you so much. I feel like going and rewatching the show now. Thank you so much for joining me, Megan, and congratulations on all the success of the show. I'm so happy for you.
Thank you very much and taking the time to speak with me. And
thank you so much and congratulations.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
The Art of Costume Blogcast is hosted by Elizabeth Joy Glass and Spencer Williams.
Produced by Elizabeth Joy Glass with associate producer Spencer Williams.
Our sound design and engineering is done by Daniel White.
Follow us on Instagram at The Art of Costume Pod.
Or visit theartofcostumeblogcast.com for all blogcast updates.
For more costume reviews, deep dives, and interviews, visit theartofcostume.com.
A blog dedicated to highlighting the best in costume design.